All right, here we go. You guys ready?
Ready?
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the All Punked Up Podcast. I'm Tyler Winters. John Pierman is here, as usual. But John is not the only one. We have a very, very special episode as we brought our friends from the High School Never Ends podcast on to talk about an album. We have Wingman Steve and Chris 183 in the house. John, I know you were going to ask. Those are their legal birth names, by the way. I checked.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, thanks for sending those over. It's actually a prerequisite before coming on. You have to send your birth certificates. Anyways, High School Never Ends, guys. Say hey.
Well, hi, guys. Thanks for having us on All Punked Up. We've talked to you guys on our show a couple times, and I feel like, well, we're all in our respective houses, but I feel like I'm at a friend's house. I'm normally I like to invite people at my house, our house, and now we're hanging out at your house. So thanks for inviting us over. You could have cleaned up a little bit more, nose or something like that, but everything looks fine.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm at a friend's house, but I kind of know like maybe you guys a little bit, but like the other people I don't know. So I'm kind of just standing by the door and kind of hoping that things go my way.
Yeah. Holding in your farts because you don't know if it's if it's a fart crowd. I know the feeling.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't hold those in.
I'm going to stop you guys right there. So we're bringing on the High School Never Ends guys to talk about an album, a special album. And it's Houston Calls' album, a collection of short stories. So we've been on the High School Never Ends podcast a couple times now. I think 2 or 3 times now to talk about albums. And we're like, you know what? You guys come over to our podcast this time and we'll talk about an album that means a lot to us. But this is also really special because it's not just the High School Never Ends guys that are on here. Tom fucking Keiger from Houston Calls is with us. So Tom, say hey.
Hey, everyone.
Tom, I sounded way more excited, and then you just come in.
Hey!
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
This is incredible. It's like I'm brought together by both groups. And I just want to say, the 4 of you, I love you all. I mean, this is really neat for me to be able to kind of join this quintet now.
And we
be
are
a part of this quintet, that is.
We are delighted to have you. And actually, Tom, this is the 3rd time you've been on our show, and there's been no other guest that has been on 3 times. We've had 2-timers, but not 3-timers.
Dang.
So
this is probably the last one that anyone's going to want to ever hear, right? This has got to be like the cutoff moment.
Well, it's actually the cutoff for our show. We don't let anybody on after 3 either.
Reasonable, totally reasonable.
Yeah.
Because then you're
so I better really step it up. I better kill it this time.
Yes.
Then maybe I'll make it to the 4th.
Yes. Okay, so why is Tom here? Well, after we give our honest hot takes on the album, a collection of short stories, all the songs, I think it would be good, Tom, if you would give us some fun stories behind the songs. Maybe yell at us if we say something negative.
Or if we misinterpret something.
Yeah, actually, that would be great. So
mispronounce song titles, things like that.
Yes.
A band one.
These ones are not as difficult as that
true.
one.
Who would do something like that? That's crazy.
So one thing that I think is interesting is Chris and Steve, I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this album because your first listening experience with Houston Calls is the band's sophomore album, End of an Era. So you guys are coming into this debut album of Houston Calls is kind of with different ears than what John and I initially had when we got into Houston Calls. Because when we came on your guys' podcast, what was it, like a month ago? We talked about an End of an Era. We went through track by track. I was surprised that you guys hadn't heard a collection of short stories at that time. But we said, because you hadn't heard that, we were like, well, let's just review it on our podcast. It's a good opportunity to get you guys on. So I am really interested to hear, maybe at the end, how you guys would compare these 2 albums.
I'm going to have to admit, I was jealous that they get to hear it for the first time,
Yeah,
you only get to hear something for the first time once.
That's true.
I said it back in our episode. We did this thing called Drive Through Summer. We did it last year or 2 years. I don't know. We did it once and then we did it again. And the first time through, we hadn't covered Houston Calls, and we were like, well, we missed out on a couple albums, so let's do Houston Calls. And I think, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, Collection of Short Stories was on like a Drive Through affiliate, right? Or was it straight up Drive Through?
No, I mean it was on. If you look at the actual CD, the original album, it says Rushmore Records, and Rushmore Records was essentially, from what I understand, I don't know legal wise, but it was an imprint. It was run by Drive Thru, and it was meant to secure their bands from being pulled by MCA at the time. They had a deal with MCA that allowed MCA to take any band on Drive Thru and transfer them over to MCA, thus resulting in less dollars for Drive Thru and losing a band. And so I think they created this in hopes of maintaining their bands, getting around that, I guess. Now, I could be a little bit wrong there, but that's what I think.
No. So that is really sense. The solo reason why when we did our hard cracked research on the Wikipedias, and this album said Rushmore, the other one said Drive Thru, we thought, okay, we're doing this like Drive Thru themed thing. We got to pick the Drive Thru one. So that's where we started.
Makes a lot of sense, and I think I believe that the second one came out because maybe that contract was expired with MCA. I don't even know if MCA was still a label at that time. I couldn't say, but I'm guessing by 2 or 3 years after this one came out, that deal was done. So they just moved everyone over.
Yeah, I'm wondering did Geffen buy MCA, acquire MCA?
No, I think Universal ended up buying it, and it's all in that Sony Universal umbrella.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I think before we get into reviews, I think it'd be sweet, Tom, if you could answer a few questions, because you guys just had your reunion. Houston Calls reuniting after, I don't know how many years it was. How many years was it?
I think the last time we played a show was 2009. In fact, I know that the last time we played a show, 2009.
So about 14 years. You guys reunite. Overall, how would you say that those shows went?
Well, we can ask Chris about the one in Pennsylvania, but for the initial reunion shows, and Chris, your shirt's on the way. Don't worry, it's in the mail. You'll see.
Awesome.
The 2 reunion shows that we did in New Jersey, they were far beyond, I think, any of our expectations. You know, we had high hopes and high expectations, but I had to temper them a little bit because I didn't know exactly what the response was going to be like. I mean, I could tell that there were tickets sold, you know, and that's one thing to have people in the room, but it's another thing to have people in the room and be energetic about what's going on. And so when we had that, you know, the first night, we kind of got out there and the room was filled, and I thought, all right, here it is. And we got into the first song, and I just knew that it was going to be a really special time. You know, I looked out, and when I saw all the people that I had known, and some of them, you know, there were faces that I had remembered. I couldn't remember their names, but I just recognized their faces from the same moment, you know, 14, 15, 16 years ago, being out there. And it was unbelievable. I think all of us felt it. All of us responded slightly differently, but we all really left that weekend feeling completely fulfilled. I think a lot of us felt a lot more closure, maybe. You know, it was, quite honest, it was probably the best show or the best shows we've ever played, I've ever been a part of playing.
That's awesome. Would you say show 1 or show 2 was better?
Honestly, the crowd in show 1 was a little bit better. Both crowds were unbelievable. I think we played better show 2, but I think the response, you know, show 1 was the one that was first released and everyone jumped on it. So you'd have people that were dying to be there. Mm-hmm. And show 2, you know, I think there were definitely some repeat people that were there, which was really cool to see. But then some of them may have like found out about it a little bit later, so maybe they weren't as diehard. The great fans, great people, but you know, sure. No disrespect to people at show 2, but show 1 did take the cake.
It just had a different type of energy.
Yes.
Okay. So then you didn't stop there, but you did a festival. And which festival was it? Was it So What? Was that what it was?
No, it was called 4 Chord Festival.
4 Chord Fest. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, right down the street from Chris.
Okay.
I'll give you his address. I have it.
Yeah, do it. So how'd that go? So you had your 2 shows. You should have been able to work out the kinks. Maybe you're working out the kinks during that time. How did that festival go? different energy, I'm sure.
Completely different.
Yeah.
So different. And, we had one less member playing with us. So Jarrett, who's our bass player, the original bass player, he could not make this show because he had already planned a vacation with his family. So he'd already reserved like a beach house and all this stuff. And he didn't want to. Yeah, I know. This was offered, I think, a couple months after we had announced our initial reunion, before we had played, but after we had announced it by far.
Sure.
And so he couldn't make it. So we had Jose play bass. So we had the original number of members, but we didn't have the original members. And it's a festival, this is a lot different. Whereas we were playing in New Jersey where people were specifically coming to see us. Now we're playing this festival with Yellow Card and Taking Back Sunday headlining the day that we played, and Andrew McMahon was playing. And Chris, I don't know, you tell me, there were probably, I want to say like 100, 200 people maybe in front of us. So it was a relatively small crowd. We played really early, 2 o'clock. It started at 12:30. It was really nice out, and there were people definitely there who knew the songs. I could look around and see people singing, which was really neat to see. I didn't know how that was going to be received or who was going to come out, but it was fun in a different way. It was fun because the experience, we got to spend a lot more time with each other at that show, because the other one was a lot of family and old friends, and this one was us taking a trip to Pennsylvania, and then we had a tent in the back where we could actually spend time talking to each other, which is really cool to have that experience and have the other one.
More nostalgic for you to do the festival show. It's more like it was before.
That's right.
As far as an experience goes.
Yeah, it definitely was. It provided a lot more camaraderie with us and a lot more hangout time. But it was a whirlwind. Chris, I'd love to hear what Chris thinks there.
No,
he was there. I saw him.
I know, and like that was I was walking in as you guys were starting, because I told my friends and my brother, like, we got to see this band, we got to get there on time, we got to go, and my brother's like taking forever putting his suntan lotion on or whatever. I'm like, dude, come on, like, they're gonna get started, and you're out there putting. So I was like, goodbye, like, and I just left and I ran for the stage. So I caught the very beginning, and you're right, like the cool thing about it was, it may have not been like 1,000 people, but the people that were there watching you guys, there was a lot of energy and they were into it, and you can tell. I was like right in the middle of it, and I think you saw me, but I'm not sure. You pointed at me. I'm going to say you did.
I did.
But ultimately, like, it was a great set. People were into it. And I could tell you, personally, the people I brought there to see you that had never heard of Houston Calls before were immediately impressed, and they went back and listened to more of your music. So I think you guys, you did what you set to accomplish there, and you grabbed a couple new fans in the process.
Cool. I'm glad that you liked it, Chris. And that was such a weird moment to be. So we played that, and the experience of walking around the festival after, and people coming up and saying, "Great set," and they had no idea about the history of our band, which was really weird for me. Like, so what do you on a label? You putting anything out? You playing shows? I'm like, well, actually, this could potentially be our last show ever. So glad you got to experience it. Nice meeting you. Have a great life. Here's where the link is. Let's go grab a drink. That was pretty much like it. Very different experience talking to people afterwards.
So you've had your reunion shows. You had 3 of them. Is there any chance at all, that more shows could be on the horizon? I'm not saying that there's anything necessarily planned right now, but any chance that something could be planned in the future?
I don't know if I'm gonna just talk about something and that never happens, which could potentially be what I'm about to say, but there is a chance. I mean, when we played the festival, we got a taste of having it a little bit easier to travel and show up and not have to bring a lot of equipment. And that was a really nice setup, as opposed to the massive coordination that was required for the 2 reunion shows. So we all kind of said after that, we'd be willing to do this if the right kind of moment came up. And then additionally, Josh, our drummer, was talking to someone in New Jersey, and I believe there's a show with another old drive-through band that may be happening in December. A band, most drive-through bands are much bigger than us. There's a band that, did pretty darn well for themselves. And it was in talks that we could be playing that or be asked to play that. And I think we all have kind of texted each other, but there could be a show sometime in December that's around the New Jersey area. That's a possibility.
Okay, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. My last question, because everybody's wondering, Tom.
Yeah.
Did this reunion spark any sort of interest in creating new Houston Calls music?
It did. It definitely did. Yeah, I mean, I can answer that easily because we talked about that too. I know Rich Okamoto, who's the keyboard player, he actually had a song that he was kicking around at one of our rehearsals before the reunion and sent it over to me. And so we're kind of trying this long distance working thing out.
Interesting.
And Kenny, who was the old guitar player who played, sent me a bunch of his tracks that he's been working on and stuff. So we're kind of, it's very possible. I don't know what would happen with it or where it would go, but I think we all got a little bit of that writing itch as well. So
that's what's up. I mean, that is something to get excited about for sure.
It'd be really fun.
Can I pose one question about the reunion shows? Just a quick one. Is the first thing that you guys do when you get back all together, do you guys all kiss each other's index fingers? Is that like is that a pre-band ritual?
So I'm glad you did your homework and you actually listened to the CD, Steve. That proves it right there. Or maybe it's the first song, so you maybe didn't make it that far.
I did all right.
You did great.
It's only 10 songs. Come on. You can get through it.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. I did too. Let's go ahead and get to it. So this is the review of Houston Calls' A Collection of Short Stories, the debut album, which came out in 2005 via Drive-Thru Records or Rushmore Records. I do want to say, too, for everybody listening, that this, depending on how this conversation goes, I'm anticipating this is going to be a long one. This might be a 2 or 3-parter, so I don't know yet. But I'm leaning towards a 3-parter. Because you got 4 podcasters on here, and podcasters like to hear themselves talk. So there's going to be a lot of talking.
That's not true.
So I say we just go ahead and get into it. All right. So track number 1 is Sunrise Goodbyes. Who wants to go first? Steve, you go first.
Oh, I got called. It's like when you're in school and you
shouldn't raise your hand, Steve.
Okay. So let me just ask a question. All right. This is a collection of short stories. And Tyler and John spoke about this a lot when we talked about End of an Era and their experiences with this, which I didn't have that many experiences with it. And I know that the title of the record is A Collection of Short Stories, right? And maybe this is a better question for the end, but are we to think, maybe this is for everybody and then Tom can kind of answer, but do we feel, are these stories supposed to be a collection of different short stories, or do we think that they might somehow be interconnected or about the same people? Anyone?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were asking
Tom.
Yeah. I thought you were asking Tom.
I started asking Tom, and then I changed it to ask you guys, and then let Tom confirm. But
no, I feel like that there's some thematic things that happen between songs. Like there's some song titles that are mentioned in other songs, so there's some linkage, I think. To me, there always was. Yeah,
I definitely want to ask you about one of those, Tom, between this song that we're getting ready to talk about and another. But I've always noticed, and I think I brought this up to you, Tom, maybe the first or second time that we talked, A Collection of Short Stories, it's a special album for me. And one thing that I always harp on and always talk about on the podcast is the art of storytelling in a song. And there's quite a few songs on this album that stand out to me because they are storytelling. There are stories here. It's not a lot of pop punk and a lot of emo songs to me. There's a lot of hidden messages throughout. Like if you take a Fall Out Boy song, there's no storytelling in a Fall Out Boy song. It's a bunch of words. It's poetry almost, which there's a lot of poetry in this album too. But theirs is more, it's kind of hard, at least for me, it's hard to figure out exactly what they're talking about. And I feel like storytelling is a way to just help the listener kind of take them on a journey. So you're listening to a song, you're listening to it beginning to end, and you got a whole story right there. So to me, A Collection of Short Stories, I think, is like a perfect name for this album because there are quite a few songs on here that are story-like to me. I don't know if that answers your question, Steve, but that's how I feel.
Okay.
And that's what really matters. It matters how everyone interprets it. I think it's the beautiful part of putting anything out like this, any sort of music, is all what you take out of it. And Steve, to the question about is it like a compilation with similar theme? I mean, I guess what you're asking is, do they all go together? Is there some sort of tie between all of them, if it's a person or that? And the answer is actually no. There isn't. I mean, there are ties that you alluded to, Tyler, about a couple of the songs. There's certainly some connections there. And John, you were talking about the song being mentioned in another song. That definitely exists. But overall, they were just a moment in time, and they all just turned out to be similar sounding to short stories. And we had a friend named Derek Riley, who is probably the first person ever in the history of music to be credited in an album in liner notes with album title by. I don't think anyone ever did that.
Nice.
I think he made us do that in order to let us use the title that he came up with. He was our friend, but he said, yeah, you can use it if you put my name in there. I'm like, okay, that's fine. No problem.
That's rad.
But yeah, I don't even know if he had listened to all the songs or knew anything about it. I think he just might have heard one or two and said, it's a collection of short stories. I'm like, okay, yep, let's go with it. Sounds good.
Nice. Mm-hmm. All right.
Just rolls off the tongue nicely, too.
It does.
All right, I'll answer the initial question after I completely derailed us with another question. Sunrise Goodbyes, this album, this song, starts off with obviously a lot of energy. What I like throughout this album is that there's two different like keyboard / piano sounds. In some later songs, there's your traditional sounds more like a keyboard or a piano, and then there's also this like synthy. I just call it a synth. I don't know if there's a real other term for it. But I asked you guys last time if you could compare Houston Calls to somebody. You guys weren't sure, but Motion City Soundtrack came up, and it's probably because they use a similar kind of synthy thing. So here we hear that for the first time in the chorus. I think a couple of things that I really like about this song. There's a chorus, but there's almost kind of like a second chorus. Like the chorus repeats. The part where it goes, dream a dream of our life story, let me kiss your index finger. It kind of acts as if it's a second chorus, because both of those repeat one after another. And I listen to the Krista Mates podcast show all the time, where he like really gets into how songs are written. So anytime there's like strange things or weird things or things don't fall like the way that you think they are, verse, chorus, whatever, it always kind of stands out to me. The slow down bridge, though, is probably my absolute favorite part, where you kind of, it chills out when it's a dream of, it gets real quiet. And one of my favorite things that whoever the lead singer of this band is, what I like is that he packs a lot of words into certain verses, chorus, whatever it is. And sometimes they don't really fall like the sentence ending where you think it will, and it kind of goes off into the next one. And it's pretty interesting. I really like that. So I think this is a great track to kick the album off. And I had obviously heard some of the synth stuff by the other album, but to me, there wasn't a whole lot of this. I also didn't get into Motion City Soundtrack until way later. So both those bands really know how to use that, and they're fun live.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into Motion City Soundtrack yet either, so maybe I need to check them out. I'll go ahead and go. I feel like, for one, there is a lyric in this song, and it's not the "let me kiss your index finger" line, although that is one of my favorite lines in the song. But there is a lyric in the song that I think really kind of encapsulates what Houston Calls does for me throughout this album. And I think it's fitting to be in the first song, because I think it kind of almost like foreshadows just that for me. And it's the line, "the music moved me like a poetry." And I don't know. It's just with how the music goes. So you know how words can move people in poetry. I really do feel like the music across this album just moves me. I was listening to the album today, and I can't help but bob my head, act like I'm playing the song like on stage. Like it doesn't matter if it's just this song or another song. It's throughout the album. So I feel like the music moved me like a poetry. That's what this album does. It just moves you. I feel like Sunrise Goodbyes is the perfect album opener. It's got speed. It sets the tone for the entire record. I feel like Houston Calls is really good at using different rhythmic guitar patterns, and I'm probably going to say that a lot throughout this review. When it comes to your guys' songwriting, lots of rhythmic guitar patterns, and you see it throughout the entire record. And I don't know if it's your Green Day influence, Tom, that does it, and that helps it kind of shine through to achieve those, rhythmic guitar pattern melodies. But Green Day does it flawlessly, and I think you guys do the same. I do have in my notes as for this song, I love the pause in the fast intro right before it resets. The palm muting and the triple snare hit is just great. It's my favorite part of the song. I think it does help set the tone. It's fast chorus, different variations of verses, which is different. To kind of go off of what you were saying, Steve, like Houston Calls just does things a little differently, and it works for them. And then there's a real slow interlude. I just feel like this song has it all, from speed to variations to slowness. You guys nailed it with this one.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I would like to say about the song has already been said. I mean, it's a really great opening track. I haven't listened to pop punk consistently throughout my life, but that was a song that would like consistently stick in my head, even when I hadn't been listening to it. Like, I'll sing it in the shower. Picture it.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, picture it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just kind of echo what everybody else has said about it. I really like it. Always liked it. It's always been one of my favorite tunes. So, kind of giving away my list at the end, but might hear about it later.
Yeah, so I think that you guys said a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to repeat that. I think what I kind of want to bring to the table here is that for me, the first track is always a make or break on a lot of these albums I've never listened to before. So you guys talked really highly about this album, and this was the one that kind of, if I didn't like it, I was going to turn it off and not listen to it again. But the good news is for everybody here that this song definitely lived up to the hype, in my opinion. I think that this album through and through, and Houston Calls in general, like, they make you feel good. They make you feel a certain way. It's kind of like a great big pop punk embrace. Like, it makes you feel really good listening to it. And this song was just that. It made me feel that way, and it brought me to want to hear more from this album. So, big fan of this intro track. I thought it did everything the right way.
Yeah, I think it really paints a picture of like what the rest of the album's going to be. Like, there's elements to that first track that are present throughout. The slow bits and the upfront kind of synth sounds and things like that kind of prepares you for what's to come.
I am thrilled that we impressed Chris on the first album, our first song. I just really wanted that to happen, Chris. That just sets the tone for the rest of the evening for me. I'm feeling good now.
I'll tell you what, I just want to know, like, now that I heard your live set, and of course I didn't know a lot of the songs that you sang because you told me they were going to be off this album. I got to think back and remember what songs you did that were off this record. So
we did that. We did this song, that's for sure.
It sounded very familiar. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Tom, is there any tidbits or anything interesting that you can share about Sunrise Goodbyes, whether that's something in the studio, something during the writing process, anything of the sort?
Let's see. A couple things. A lot of the music that is featured in many of these songs, Josh and I wrote in his parents' basement before we had kind of started any touring circuit or anything like that. And this was one of them. This was one of the early songs that we wrote together. And Tyler, what you're talking about, the choppy guitar part and the kind of rhythmic guitar part, I just remember being so into that part of this song. It was so fun to play, and I'm pretty sure that's where the song began, with that part, with that verse, and then we just messed around and got the rest of it. I wanted so badly to work in the lyric about another song called Am I Wrong? There's a song called Am I Wrong by a band called Love Spit Love, which is referenced in this song. It was one of my favorite songs because it's featured on the Angus soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so obsessed with that soundtrack. And I don't know, I love when bands sing about other songs and they put songs in the lyrics. And so that was one of the ones I really wanted to have its way. I wanted to find its way on the lyrics because it's a different type of music. It's easy to reference like another pop punk song, and sometimes that just doesn't hit the same way. But if you reference a song like Am I Wrong by Love Spit Love, I always thought it was kind of cool. And so I I wanted to call that out about the song. And then the other funny thing about this song is that I also really wanted, this is going to paint me as this pretentious person, but I don't care, because I really wanted to use the word soliloquy in a song so badly. I don't know why, but I think, after reading probably some Shakespeare or something at one point, I think I learned that word and it stuck with me for so long. Like, that is such a cool word. How can I work that into a song? And to this day, my dad always brings that up, talking about lyrics. Tom, you had such great lyrics. Remember when you said soliloquy? Like, it's just so, he always brings that one. He doesn't reference anything else. He just references that one word. And I'm like, all right, so I made my dad really proud by using a cool word like that. And so, I don't know. I thought it's just a fun story.
Well,
it still lives with me.
It didn't sound forced in the song. I'll say that.
That's cool. I'm glad that because it was forced. It was just, how do I get
you
this
made
damn
sure
word
of
in
it.
there? Yeah, I need that word in there. But
It's a good word.
Yeah, thanks. It's
I mean, most soliloquies are forced.
that's
like
right. But
You're just forcing the audience. Like, you're gonna listen to me right now.
But little things like that still stick with me about the writing of the song. That was what I distinctly remember. And the funny thing is that that's the thing I remember. But then the piece of this song that I feel like stuck with most people was the "Let me kiss your index finger." That line. Yeah, and that was the part that was probably one of the first lyrics we ever had that became like a thing where fans would do, like, really get into that part and kind of act it out. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I was just writing it and trying to be clever. I thought it was a neat way to say it, and then people just really got attached to that. It was just
that was a lyric that was like an AOL instant message away message.
Yeah.
Gosh, I sure hope so. That's really cool to think about.
It was.
It was mine.
Oh, it was.
I don't know.
Day made, week made.
Tyler's so deep, man. He's got soliloquy in his away message.
He spelt it wrong though.
Yeah.
Okay. Next song, track number 2, Exit Emergency. Who wants this one? Chris, you went last, so you could go first on this one.
Boom. Reverse. Snake order.
No, I mean, look, I thought this was a great follow-up. I told you how much I liked the first song, so, obviously big things in my mind for what I was going to get next, and what you have here is just another great, well put together. I thought it was super. It was really catchy. I love your melodies. Again, you're not just because you're on this show right now. We've already talked about this, Tom, on other shows, but I'm going to be honest. Like, the melodies that you put together in these songs are super catchy, and I just it makes me want to sing. So when that happens, like, I sing the song, and even though these lyrics are not on Spotify for some reason, do we know why? Like, that makes me crazy. I wish they were, but obviously, with this song, I just I got into it immediately. The one thing I'm kind of interested in is the song "Exit Emergency." The meaning behind it. You kind of think about the lyrics. It's about, I guess, like a relationship it was maybe a long distance relationship that came back, or maybe someone that left that came back again. I'm not sure. I'm sure you could explain that better. But what does it have to do with exit emergency? Is it about, kind of exiting out of a bad relationship or a good one that you had to? And because it was just the time to do that? Or I don't know if you have any thoughts there, Tom, if you can kind of speak to that.
First off, thanks, Chris. That was really nice of you, what you said about the melodies. I appreciate that. And real quick, I think the title, if I remember correctly, obviously it's a slight play on emergency exit. And I just thought, the way this song is, it's kind of back and forth, where you got this relationship and you've got this kind of person that you really care about, but then you're having struggles and it's not working out and you're getting really frustrated and you're almost getting angry and you're just kind of going all over the place in terms of being really into it and being not really into it. And so I thought, okay, well, I want to get out of it. There's something serious going on. And in my head, it was like, okay, first comes exit, then we're looking at the emergency that is caused by that. So I just flipped it because I thought, my first thought in writing these lyrics was, I got to get out. like I'm looking for the exit, and it was, I don't know. It's probably, probably making it sound cooler than it actually is, but that was all really. It was a kind of a back and forth push-pull relationship going on, and that was it.
Awesome.
Nice. It's always good to get the insight and the backstories behind these songs. So, Tom, really thank you for coming on and doing this, because I've been listening to this album for years now, and not just because of this week of you coming on have I been listening to it a lot, but there's times throughout every year where I'll throw on the album in full and I'll just listen to it. So, and I always have my own memories that come back, you know, while I'm listening to it. You know, where was I when I first heard this song, or that sort of thing. So now getting backstories is just a different way of looking at it. So it's really, this is going to be cool by the time we're done with this this series. All right, John, what you got?
Well, this is the first Houston Call song I would have heard, because it was on a lot of samplers, I think, before the album came out, is what I remember. It made me seek out the CD when it did come out, because I knew that song, you know, from listening to samplers that year before, or, you know, however. Were there multiple versions of this song? Was there like a demo-y kind of version of this song that came out?
Yeah, there was. This was on a sampler that we put out before we were even signed. So we had like a 4-song sampler and then a 5-song sampler that was self-released. And there was a version we did with a really cool dude named Jesse Cannon, who's done a lot of recording and producing.
Yeah, because I just remembered hearing more than one version of the song. Not that there was a stark difference, but just enough to where you could notice that it's not the exact same cut. But it's leading down the pathway to a great record. It's good tune.
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, this is another punchy song. When I hear the song, I immediately think to myself that this has to be the best band to ever showcase a keyboardist in the scene, hands down. The song starts off with the drum riff. It's kind of got, I believe this one has like the little distorted drum effect. And then right after the drums play, we get the keyboard or synth in the background. We got the guitar riffing coming through. To me, this one kind of gives off, at least at the beginning, some sort of hello goodbye feel, because you got the synth and all that. I don't know if there was any influence there from you guys. And again, I have to applaud the rhythmic guitar patterns. I mean, that happens again in this song. It's just a very unique pattern in that I haven't heard this melody in any other song or anything like that. But this is just a fun song, and it really makes me feel like I'm 19 again. Again, it goes back to when I listen to this song, it just takes me back. And those gang vocals at the end of the last chorus only makes the chorus, I think, makes you want to sing it just that much more. And I'm going to say exactly what Chris said. It's a solid follow-up to the opener. Steve. Agreed. Just a fun, catchy pop punk jam, killer chorus. I think the drums in the chorus are really good. Props over to your drummer. I think this is one of those where the vocal like kind of style is like up and down, da-na, na, da-na, na, and then the guitar kind of like follows it along. So much fun. So everybody said all the things about the song, but nobody has brought up the music video, which I watched today. I don't know if I've ever seen the music video. Holy cow.
The music video is basically you guys playing at like a fight club. Would that be an accurate assessment?
That's a very accurate assessment. Yeah. The director's name is Jonathan London, who is a great guy. I feel like I say this about everyone, but I only talk about the people that I think are really great. So that helps. Jonathan London had this idea to model it after the Karate Kid. And so he thought like kind of this fight scene, and there's a Karate Kid kind of spoof at the end where he's about to give him the final blow, and he just like honks his nose or something silly like that, I think. And
Karate Kid 2, yeah.
Yeah.
He's in Okinawa.
I love your striped sweater, by the way, in this video.
Oh, thank you.
And the soul patch, that flavor saver over there, that is killer, dude. You must have gotten a lot of ladies with that.
That is ridiculous, isn't it? That is so ridiculous. But yeah,
I enjoyed the video. It was a fun thing to look back on, and yeah, it did have Karate Kid vibes. But I was like, they're playing a pop punk song at Fight Club.
I know,
and they're like betting, like it's like a cockfight or something. It was pretty fun.
Nice.
Check it out on the YouTubes.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. It was a good time. I like what you all said though, because this is funny. When you were talking about the song, I don't really listen. This is one of the older ones. I don't really listen to this song at all. You know, sometimes I go back and listen to our songs and kind of the same way you all are talking about. And Tyler, like you're like, I was like, I was 19. This is great. It feels good. It feels good for me too. But this one is one I don't really listen to because I think I heard it so many times. It was one of the ones that was our kind of a first popular song, popular if you will. But I do think that this one. There was one time we had an article in a Kerrang magazine that talked about us, and they defined us as like party punk. And I thought that was a good way to define this song. It's kind of like a party, like the beginning. You were saying kind of like "Hello Goodbye." Mm-hmm. You know, it's got this like party vibe, kind of fun, whatever. And I think it's a good representation of that.
Yeah, it feels like you're like at a solo cut party kind of vibe to it. Yeah.
So was this the first music video that you guys had ever done?
Yeah, this was the first and only one.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what would make a great music video, and I'm glad it's the next song, is Bob and Bonnie. I'm going to take this one first, guys. First of all, Tom, is there any chance, you mentioned at the top of the show that there could be a potential for some new Houston Calls music. Is there any chance that we could ever be lucky enough to receive an acoustic version of Bob and Bonnie?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you just asked for it. I gotta now produce it. Could
you go get your guitar real quick?
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
You know, I did just today upload an acoustic version of the song called High Rise that I just recorded just for fun. I was just tooling around on my GarageBand and I started getting into it. So I put it on Apple Music, and I think it'll be on Spotify in like a day or two because I think I just upload through TuneCore or whatever on my own. It's under my own kind of side project because I don't have access to the Houston Calls thing, and
damn it,
we don't have the right. As weird as that sounds, we don't really have too much control over it. So I was like, well, I can control this, and I can just put it on there.
Yeah, so that's kind of nuts. If you guys do come out with new music, how will you guys be able to release it? You just gotta figure out how to do that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we'll come to that one when the time is right. Yeah,
right.
Tom, just an idea that you can borrow from a fellow Drive-Thru Records alumnus, Adam Lorbach from Homegrown. He, just for the fans, out of nowhere, just decided to record some homegrown songs. Like he basically went to different like spots in his like house and wherever, his church and stuff, and he just did like 6 songs and just recorded them, him and an acoustic guitar, and people really dug them. So all you need is you, a guitar, and an Instagram. So go do it.
I'm totally down. So Tyler, I'll take that request for sure. And
Thank you, buddy.
I'll make sure that I accidentally put it on iTunes or something, and I didn't want people to think I was charging for it. I don't care if people if they want to buy it, okay. But I wasn't. I was just trying to stream it and put it up there and get it somewhere where it's accessible. So
yeah, right. Okay, so one, I really would like an acoustic version of this song because I feel like this is probably my most, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass, Tom. I've talked about this song many times before. This is probably my most favorite pop punk love song of all time. I cannot say enough about this song. It is such a beautiful song, and the fact that you wrote it about your parents is just fucking icing on the cake. It's literally what everybody wants out of a romantic relationship. When you envision getting married, this is how you want to grow old with that person. And I'm not lying when I say that this is the best pop punk love song there is. Hands down. I have it written down here. On August 2nd, 2005, the bar for pop punk love songs was set, and it's never been reached again. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's really kind.
Yeah. You know what? And it kind of goes back to the storytelling. This song starts at the very beginning, and it comes to an end. Not like an end where Bob and Bonnie aren't here anymore, but it gets them to old age. And, dude, this song not only follows a relationship from the young age to an old age, but it's visual with the lyrics too. So like your line, as the clock spins, so does the room, and as their eyes meet, all of the lights start to flicker. Tom, damn it, if those aren't the best lyrics you've ever written, man, like you fucking nailed it. Like one, for this song, it's such a standout song for me in your whole music catalog. how did this song come to be? And was it, and what I mean is like, was it the music first and then the lyrics? Or was that piano intro, did that inspire something? Like, how did this song become what it was?
I was just taking that in. That was really kind of you to say. So I really appreciate those words. And gosh, I honestly think that the piano intro came first. I think
before any lyrics.
Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking about this album, there were two main songwriters on this album, myself and Rich Okamoto. I know I said I wrote the songs with Josh, our drummer, but I'm talking about like lyrical content and melodies and things like that. And so with this one, it was one or two times I would come up with a piano part, even though I can't really play piano very well. But this was one that I had this piano line and this intro. And then I think I brought it in and Josh and I did our thing and played the music. And so we had the whole base of the music, all of that was set, and then the lyrics came in. So
Beautiful.
The lyrics were just added on top of the whole kind of progression and everything.
Can I ask, how fast did the lyrics come? Did it take time?
There aren't many songs that I've written lyrically that took a long time. I
Okay.
think almost all of them came out pretty fast. I'd spend more time on the music, I think, than the lyrics. I think once I had the idea, it just kind of flowed. And this one, I don't think this one was any different.
Did you try to tell a story with this one? Like when you started writing, did you know that you wanted to tell a story the way that it was told?
I knew that I wanted to sing something about my parents that let them know how much I cared about them, because I don't know about any of you on here or anyone listening out there, but sometimes expressing your feelings to loved ones is really difficult. And when you're younger, I always had these thoughts inside. I always felt this way in my heart, but I could never say it. And I really wanted to say it so badly. It was something that was like, gosh, I just want them to understand, but I don't feel comfortable saying it. I don't know why that is. Or I get really choked up or sad. It's like if you talk about a loved one who's passed away or something like that, you start getting really sad. It was like,
sure.
It kind of felt like that. And so I just had the idea that that's what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily go into it and say, I want to write this whole story. I just thought, how do I write a song about my parents, and loosely based on my parents, of course. I think I told you before, but
yes.
But just kind of to honor them somehow,
right?
Without having to just walk up there and say I love you or something like that.
And obviously the lights don't really flicker when they're around each other. That's right. What you mean by loosely, right?
It's a figure of speech. That's right. I mean, the references are all accurate. Like the songs that I reference or the song in the movie, those are really important to my family and my parents. So
that's awesome. That's amazing. And what a gift to give to your parents, I think. Like, I know that they think that this song is special because we've talked about it before, but man, this is such a well-written song, Tom. And I didn't even talk about the music, so I'll let the other guys talk about that piece. But I just want to say the storytelling, the lyrics in this song are magnificent. Well done.
Thanks.
Nobody wants to follow that, Tyler.
Well, I'm sorry. I get excited about that song.
Why don't you just give a thumbs up or thumbs down? We can move on if you want.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler said everything.
Sorry, guys.
I think this is what your number one streamed song, right? So this seems to be probably the most popular. This is probably the one everybody goes insane for at the shows, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, it looks like it's at 1.9 million on Spotify, and the next popular one is "Exit Emergency" at 589K. So.
Which is crazy because that was the song that we were kind of pushing. That's what we thought would be the one. We'd never even thought twice about Bob and Bonnie. It wasn't like, hey, this is going to be a song that people really like.
And it just proves my point that storytelling gives a song more, it makes it more relatable, and I think it just helps people like a song more and want to hear it more. So I digress.
Yeah, I think that all that stuff is definitely true, and love the piano intro, love the storytelling. I think one of my favorite parts is the subtle differences in the lyrics. There's as the song spun, so did the room, as they hold hands, as the reel spins, as their eyes met, as the clock spins. So you're kind of using the same vocal delivery, but just alternating it just a little bit, which I think is really, really cool. Mentioning the Princess Bride, probably my favorite movie of all time. So I'm a big fan of that one. I feel like I want to ask you, like, there's not like a traditional chorus to this one. Like, what exactly is the chorus? If you had to say one.
I mean, I guess the chorus, if I had to say one, is "Does he still look at you the same way now?" I mean, but it definitely. I mean, let's be honest. The verse is way catchier than the chorus. The chorus is just kind of like, "Hey, we got to this part. We got to have a chorus in here, so let's throw something in here. It's got a good message."
And I feel like behind it, I want to say that you like Billy Joel, because there's this kind of like, there's another, obviously a more obvious Billy Joel reference later, but the whole kind of, you're telling the story with, and I didn't know that it was your parents, that takes it to a whole different level. But there's like the, scenes from an Italian restaurant with like, Brenda and Eddie, and they're telling the story there. There's also Jack and Diane. That's not Billy Joel, but I just like that they're the two names that you tell the story to. And in my head, you got Mr. William Joel, little influence there.
Yeah, I definitely think that the song titles that you just named played a part in kind of coming up with this. I always thought that was really cool. I think Jack and Diane I was even more into, to be honest. Like that, I really like that song. That's kind of got this awesome story behind it, and yeah.
That's John Cougar Mellencamp?
That's right.
Yes.
Or maybe John Mellencamp at that time. I'm not
John
sure
Mellencamp,
what he was. But yes.
Or just John Cougar. It just depended on the time frame. But
yeah, same amount of denim, but different name.
Still sucking on chili dogs, no matter what. Right? Doesn't matter.
That's a picture.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
John, what do you got?
Yeah, I really enjoy the bridge of this song, the build towards the end, kind of the overlapping vocals, using the lyric. Starting with the word "as," is that influenced by Princess Bride? Because Princess Bride is like "as you wish," and there's a lot of "as" statements in the song. Is there a correlation there?
I wish I could say yes. That's a great call, but I don't.
Let's just say it was.
Honestly, think I was thinking that the whole time.
Genius,
that was
genius.
The impetus for that whole song was the Princess Bride. It wasn't my parents. It was actually like, how can I fit in the Princess Bride into a song? I'll just write about my parents. That's cool.
It's a song about Andre the Giant.
Yes, always. Yeah. And Inconceivable. That guy's name, I can't remember.
And the long speech about killing the father, that part. I don't know that movie well enough to quote it, but I did hear a story about Andre the Giant, that he was so large that a regular toilet wouldn't hold him sometimes, and he'd have to shit in the bathtub of hotel rooms and just wash it down.
So, John,
that's something to think about.
Much for
Sure.
How do you wash it down? I guess
you just run the shower.
I was thinking that too.
But the shower has like a stopper in it. I guess you got to pull that out.
Sometimes you got to stamp it down, I think, depending on consistency. Probably just got to.
So,
but anyways,
I do have one more question about Bob and Bonnie. And John and I were kind of talking about this before everybody else came on. I do wonder, you do the stutter sing at the beginning, but Bonnie and Bobby made their way to the bar. Was that stutter influenced from something else? Because I know Benny and the Jets. Then Jimmy Eat World does some stuttering in a praise chorus. So was there any type of influence there? Or did the lyrics and the melody just kind of take you there?
It had to have been, right? Even if I
don't know.
I feel like every single thing that is written is influenced by something, whether we know it or not. At some point, and I am not that clever to come up with something that cool, so it had to be Benny.
I mean, it is cool too.
It must have been Benny and the Jets, because every time I heard that, I kept thinking of that. I don't remember what's the one from Jimmy Eat World? How does that go?
Good things are never gonna.
Oh yeah,
thank you, Steve.
So it might have been that. That was good.
I was trying to do that for John, and he was making fun of me. He's like, "Yeah, go ahead and sing that for him."
So this is the one, Tyler, that you hyped up to me when you said, "I can't believe you didn't listen to a collection of short stories." This is the song, and you told me you have to listen to this song, Bob and Bonnie, and so I did, and I listened to it first. I came to this one first because, Tyler said I have to listen to it, and you're right. Like, you were so right. It's like you hear a hit when you hear one, right? You hear a song that just is just the right song in every way, shape, or form. Sometimes story time songs can get long and maybe can drag. I've listened to them, but you got to feel like it's the music. It's the music that you guys chose for this song, for this story, that fit perfectly with the tempo it needed to be, with the feeling that you wanted to emote from the song that you were writing and that you were singing. Everything worked perfectly in unison, and that made a hit, and that made this be just such an amazing song. And I'll tell you, live, this song crushed. Like, this was one of my favorite songs you guys did. I was floored on this one. So again, not to repeat everything else everybody said, but everything everybody said was right. This is probably one of the best songs I've heard, guys. And that's not hyperbole. That's for real. So,
right on. This is one that we need to make a music video to still. So if Houston Calls has time, get Bob and Bonnie in there too. It'd be amazing.
Go do some YouTube searches, dig around a little bit, type in Bob and Bonnie, Houston Calls, music video or something like that. You'll find some high school projects I think I saw kids do.
Nice.
So some fun ones. There was one that I think a couple people legitimately thought it was the real music video, because I honestly remember years ago looking at it, there were like 50,000 views. I was like, we don't even have that many on our music video, the one we actually made. So
are we getting paid for this? We should be getting paid for this.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
You got 2 more views on that video today, my friend.
Yes.
Well done. Good job, Steve.
Copyright Richard Raines.
Okay, so now we'll officially end this first hour. Guys, come back next week. We'll do part 2.